The German Shepherd's teeth were still clenched around a pink teddy bear when Marcus Thompson found him beneath the Interstate 85 overpass. Blood had dried brown on the matted fur, and the dog's ribs showed through like prison bars. But it was the eyes that made Marcus's blood run cold. Those amber eyes tracked something invisible in the empty air, pupils dilated with a terror that went beyond physical pain. "Easy, boy," Marcus whispered, his arthritic knees protesting as he crouched on the gravel. The dog whimpered, a sound so human it raised the hair on Marcus's neck. Then he saw the collar tag. Emma Hayes, 555-01147. The same Emma Hayes whose face stared from every telephone pole in Atlanta. 6 years old. Missing for 72 hours. The shepherd's grip on the teddy bear tightened, and he lurched forward, trying to crawl northeast despite legs that wouldn't hold him. Marcus realized with dawning horror. This dog knew where she was. Marcus Thompson hadn't planned on becoming anyone's savior. At 62, with hands that shook from more than just age and a heart that skipped beats like a broken record, he'd settled into the quiet rhythm of searching for other people's lost things. Not because he was particularly good at it, Lord knew his eyes weren't what they used to be, but because the weight of his own losses demanded he try to balance the scales somehow. The 1994 Ford pickup truck that carried him to the bridge that morning had outlived his wife Martha by 3 years and his son Jake by 7. Both gone too soon, one to cancer that ate through her like wildfire, the other to an IED on a road whose name Marcus couldn't pronounce. Now he filled his days volunteering with the county search and rescue, looking for hikers who'd wandered off trails and teenagers who'd run away from home. It was something. It was better than sitting in an empty house listening to the clock tick away what remained of his $1,247 monthly pension. Rex, according to the military tags beneath the civilian collar, was a different kind of lost. The German Shepherd bore the telltale signs of a military working dog, the tattoo inside his left ear, the way his muscles, even wasted as they were, suggested years of conditioning. 5 years old, if Marcus read the service number correctly. 2 tours in Afghanistan with the 3rd Infantry Division. 27 confirmed saves, whatever that meant in dog terms. Heroes measured in lives pulled from rubble. Bombs sniffed out before they could kill. But heroes weren't supposed to end up like this. The address on the civilian tag led back to Robert Hayes, Emma's father. The same Robert Hayes currently sitting in county lockup on his 3rd domestic violence charge. The pieces of an ugly puzzle were starting to fit together, but the picture they formed made Marcus's stomach turn. "Sometimes the good Lord puts broken souls together to make something whole," Martha used to say when she'd catch him staring at Jake's photograph. Marcus hadn't believed her then. But looking at this broken dog clutching a missing child's toy, he wondered if maybe the Lord's plan included 4-legged angels. Sarah Hayes answered on the 3rd ring, her voice raw from 3 days of screaming her daughter's name. 28 years old, working 3 jobs to keep a roof over Emma's head since Robert's last arrest. The night shift at the hospital, morning cleanup at the elementary school, weekend cashier at the Kroger. She'd been at the hospital when Emma vanished from their backyard, the back gate left swinging in the wind. "Please," Sarah's voice cracked through the phone. "Please tell me you found something." Marcus looked down at Rex, who hadn't loosened his grip on the teddy bear despite his labored breathing. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "I think your daughter might have had a guardian angel looking out for her. Question is, can we trust him to lead us to her?" The morning sun was already brutal at 7:30 when Dr. Catherine Mitchell arrived at the bridge. Marcus had wrapped Rex in an old moving blanket from his truck, but the dog's shallow breathing told its own story. Catherine's practiced hands moved with the efficiency of someone who'd seen too much suffering to waste time on sentiment, but Marcus caught the tightness around her eyes when she glimpsed the teddy bear still locked in Rex's jaws. "Jesus Christ," she muttered, running her fingers along Rex's ribcage. "How long has he been out here?" "Can't say for certain," Marcus replied, holding the flashlight steady as she examined the infected wounds crisscrossing the dog's haunches. "But those paw pads are torn to hell. He's been running on hot asphalt for miles." Catherine's veterinary clinic sat 15 minutes from the bridge, but she made the call to treat Rex where he lay. Moving him risked more damage, and something in the way his amber eyes tracked their movements suggested he wouldn't leave without a fight. As she worked to establish an IV line, Sheriff Tom Bradley's cruiser pulled up, followed by 2 animal control vehicles. "Morning, Marcus," Bradley said, his tone suggesting it was anything but good. The sheriff was 58, built like a man who'd played football in high school and never quite accepted that those days were gone. "Heard you found Robert Hayes' dog." "Found a veteran," Marcus corrected. "One who might know where Emma is." Bradley's expression soured. "That dog's been fighting. Look at those scars. Robert's in county because we found evidence of a dog-fighting ring on his property. This animal's dangerous, and frankly, I don't have time for whatever Dr. Doolittle fantasy you're cooking up." The animal control officer, a young man whose badge read Peterson, already had the catch pole out. "We have a euthanasia order for any fighting dogs from the Hayes property. It's protocol." "Protocol?" Catherine's voice could have frozen hell. "This is a military working dog with 2 bronze stars. You want to put down a war hero because some asshole forced him to fight?" But it was Rex who ended the argument. The moment Peterson stepped forward with the pole, the shepherd released the teddy bear and struggled to his feet. Despite legs that shook like leaves in a storm, he assumed a perfect military attention stance, eyes locked on some invisible point in the distance. Then, with movements that must have cost him agony, he performed a series of trained behaviors: sit, down, guard. His eyes never left the northeast horizon. "He's trying to tell us something," Marcus said quietly. "Look at him. That's not a fighting dog. That's a soldier who's still on mission." Catherine's hands stilled on her medical supplies. "The blood on this teddy bear is fresh. Maybe 12 hours old. And these injuries," she pointed to the deep gashes on Rex's shoulders, "these aren't from dog fights. These are defensive wounds. Something attacked him while he was protecting something else." Bradley removed his hat, wiping sweat from his forehead. The temperature was climbing toward 90, and it wasn't even 8 o'clock. "You're asking me to believe this dog knows where Emma is? I'm asking you to give us 48 hours, Marcus said. "That's all. Let Doc Mitchell stabilize him. Let me see where he leads. What do you lose?" "Besides time and resources we should be using on actual search patterns?" Bradley's radio crackled with updates from the search teams. 3 days of looking had turned up nothing. The Amber Alert had generated dozens of false sightings, but no real leads. "Marcus, I know you mean well, but—" Sarah Hayes's Honda Civic screeched to a stop beside the cruiser, and she was out before the engine died. Marcus had seen desperate parents before, but Sarah looked like grief incarnate. Her hospital scrubs were the same ones she'd been wearing when Emma disappeared, her hair uncombed, her eyes red-rimmed and wild. "Where is it?" she gasped. "The teddy bear. Someone said you found Emma's—" She saw Rex then, saw Princess Bubbles in Catherine's hands, and her knees buckled. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground. "That's Emma's," Sarah whispered. "Her favorite. She never goes anywhere without—" Her eyes found the blood, and a sound escaped her that wasn't quite human. Oh God, no." Rex's attention shifted to Sarah, and he whined, a low, urgent sound. With tremendous effort, he belly-crawled toward her, stopping just within reach. Then he did something that made everyone freeze. He gently took the teddy bear from Catherine's hands and placed it at Sarah's feet before turning his body to face northeast again, his entire being pointing like a compass needle. "Ma'am," Marcus said gently, "when did you last see this dog?" Sarah's hands shook as she picked up the bear. "Yesterday morning. I was leaving for my shift, and Emma was in the backyard. She was talking to someone through the fence. When I looked out, I saw—" She paused, memory clicking into place. "I saw Rex. He was hurt, bleeding. Emma called him her angel dog. She said angel dogs protect little girls. I told her to stay away, that he might be sick, but Emma didn't listen," Catherine finished. "She went to help him." Sarah nodded, tears streaming. "She's always been like that. Can't stand to see anything hurt. Last month she tried to save a bird with a broken wing. She made a little hospital in a shoebox." A sob escaped her. "What if she followed him? What if she's out there somewhere trying to help?" The pieces were falling into place, painting a picture that was both better and worse than what they'd feared. Emma hadn't been taken. She'd gone willingly, following an injured dog she thought needed saving. But that meant a 6-year-old girl had been missing in the Georgia heat for 3 days, and the dog who might lead them to her was fighting for his life. Catherine had managed to get 2 bags of fluids into Rex, and his breathing had steadied somewhat, but his temperature was dangerously high and the infection in his wounds was spreading. "I need to get him to the clinic," she said. "He needs antibiotics, surgery, blood work. This heat is killing him." "No," Marcus said firmly. "Look at him. He won't leave. He's got something to show us, and he'll die trying to do it." Bradley's radio crackled again. The search teams were pulling back. The Weather Service had issued warnings for the afternoon, severe thunderstorms, possible flooding. If Emma was out there, exposed to the elements, time was running shorter than anyone wanted to admit. "One chance," Bradley said finally. "You follow the dog. I'll give you Peterson and 1 search team. But when this goes sideways, and it will, it's on you, Marcus." Rex had collapsed again, but his eyes remained fixed on the horizon. Whatever he knew, whatever he'd seen, he was prepared to die to show them. The question was whether they'd listen before it was too late. The monitors in Walter Reed's intensive care unit had been beeping steadily for 6 months when James Thompson's eyes finally fluttered open on March 15, 2025. The fluorescent light stabbed into his brain like needles, and his throat felt raw from the ventilator tube recently removed. But his first coherent thought wasn't about the pain or the disorientation. "Max!" The word came out as a croak, barely audible. The nurse, checking his vitals, nearly dropped her clipboard. "Sergeant Thompson, you're awake. Don't try to talk. Where's Max?" His voice grew stronger, desperate. "My dog. Where's my dog?" The medical staff exchanged glances. They'd been briefed about the military working dog, of course. The hero dog who'd saved 7 soldiers by throwing himself on a grenade. But that was 6 months ago, and the Army had protocols for non-operational assets. Dr. Patricia Reeves, the head of neurology, sat beside Thompson's bed. "Sergeant, you've been in a coma for 6 months. Your injuries were severe. We need to focus on— I need to know where Max is." Thompson tried to sit up, his muscles screaming in protest. "He was injured. The grenade—" "The dog was processed through standard channels," Dr. Reeves said carefully. "Retired and rehomed. Right now we need to concentrate on your recovery." The word hit Thompson like shrapnel. Rehomed, given away like surplus equipment. His Max, who'd slept beside his cot for 3 years, who'd saved his life more times than he could count, handed off to strangers while Thompson lay unconscious. The next weeks blurred together. Physical therapy, cognitive assessments, the slow realization of what the traumatic brain injury had stolen from him, short-term memory gaps, balance issues, headaches that made him vomit. But worse than any physical symptom was the absence that followed him through the hospital halls. No clicking of nails on linoleum, no warm weight against his leg during the nightmares. Margaret had left him. The divorce papers were waiting when he was coherent enough to understand them. "I grieved for you for 3 months," her letter explained. "But I couldn't watch you die slowly." She'd moved to Oregon, started over. Thompson couldn't blame her. He'd have left himself too if he could. By May, Thompson was living in his 2003 Honda Civic in the Walter Reed parking lot. The VA housing wait list was 8 months long. His medical discharge came with promises of benefits that required mountains of paperwork he couldn't complete. The TBI made focusing on forms impossible. But every day he limped to the hospital library and used their computers to search. Military working dog adoption records were classified. Privacy concerns, they said. National security. But Thompson knew Max's tattoo number, his microchip ID, every scar and marking. He created Facebook posts, contacted veteran groups, called every German Shepherd rescue in a 1,000-mile radius. "I'm looking for my partner," he'd say, his voice breaking. "He's not just a dog. He's—" But how could he explain? How could civilians understand that Max had been his anchor in hell, his reason for surviving patrol after patrol? Then, on a humid Tuesday evening in late September, Thompson was hunched over a library computer when his Facebook notifications exploded. A video shared over 1 million times in 6 hours. The caption read, "Is this how America treats its heroes?" Thompson's hands shook as he clicked play. The video was grainy, shot vertically on a phone. A young man's voice, slurred and mocking. "Welcome to Mutt Watch, everyone. Tonight we're feeding our hero his gourmet dinner." The camera panned to a metal bowl crawling with maggots. Then up to, "Max!" Thompson's cry echoed through the library. Several patrons looked up in alarm as he gripped the monitor, leaning forward as if he could reach through the screen. It was Max, but barely recognizable. Skeletal, filthy, his beautiful coat matted with mud, and worse. The proud military-bearing Thompson remembered was gone, replaced by a broken creature cowering against a chain. But the eyes, God, those intelligent brown eyes were the same, even dimmed by pain and neglect. "Watch this useless mutt try to army crawl," the voice continued. The camera followed Max as he dragged himself through mud, his hind legs completely useless now. Bet he wasn't so pathetic in Afghanistan. Bet he could actually walk. Thompson watched in horror as the video showed Max trying to eat the rotten food, struggling to keep it down. The Purple Heart medal on his collar, the one Thompson had pinned there himself, was visible but tarnished, caked with dirt. "That's my Purple Heart," the young man laughed. "Might pawn it. How much you think a dog medal's worth?" The video ended with a kick to Max's bowl, sending the putrid contents across the mud. Max, starving, crawled after the pieces. The last frame showed him looking directly at the camera, and Thompson saw something that destroyed him. Recognition. Max knew he was being filmed, knew humans were watching, and was still hoping one of them might be Thompson. The comments section was exploding. #SaveMax was trending. Veterans groups were mobilizing. Someone had identified the location: Miller Construction in Columbus, Ohio. Only a 10-hour drive from D.C. Thompson was in his car within minutes, still wearing hospital slippers. He drove through the night, stopping only for gas, his vision blurring from TBI-related migraines. The Facebook video played on repeat in his mind. Max crawling through mud. Max eating maggots. Max waiting. He reached Columbus as dawn broke, following GPS to Miller Construction. The building sat in an industrial area surrounded by chain-link fence. Thompson parked across the street, his heart hammering as he searched for any sign of Max. Then he saw him. Behind the main building, chained to a pole like a junkyard mongrel, lay his partner, his brother, his boy. "Max," Thompson whispered, gripping the steering wheel. Max's head lifted slightly, ears pricking forward. Even from 50 yards away, Thompson could see the hope flash across the dog's face before dimming again. How many times had Max heard approaching vehicles and wondered? Thompson was out of his car, crossing the street, when the back door of Miller Construction burst open. A man in his late 50s emerged, carrying a shotgun. "Get the hell off my property," Robert Miller's voice carried across the yard. "I know why you're here, saw the damn videos. That's my dog, bought and paid for." "That's my partner," Thompson shouted back, his hands raised. "I'm his handler. Sergeant James Thompson, 82nd Airborne. Please, I just want—" "I don't give a damn if you're General Patton." Miller pumped the shotgun. "That mutt's mine. Legal ownership. You want him? You can buy him. $10,000. "I don't have—" Thompson's voice broke. "Please, you don't understand. He saved my life. He saved—" "Get off my property before I call the cops. Or better yet, before I save them the trouble." Thompson stood frozen, watching Max struggle to stand, to come to him. The chain held tight. Their eyes met across the muddy yard. Handler and dog, separated by 50 feet that might as well have been an ocean. "I'll be back for you, boy," Thompson called out, his voice carrying over Miller's cursing. "You hear me? I'm not leaving you behind." Max's tail moved, just once, the ghost of a wag. Thompson retreated to his car as Miller stood guard. He parked across the street again, visible from Max's position. He'd wait, plan, figure something out. The police, when he called them, were unsympathetic. "It's a civil matter," the dispatcher explained. "The dog is legal property. Unless there's active abuse, he's feeding him rotten food, he's chained up, he's—" "Sir, I understand you're upset, but without evidence of criminal abuse, we can't intervene. Maybe try animal control?" Animal control was closed until Monday. It was Friday night. Thompson sat in his car watching the construction yard. He could see Max's form in the dying light, could swear the dog was watching him too. His phone buzzed constantly. Messages from veterans who'd seen the video, offers of help, suggestions ranging from legal action to midnight liberation. As darkness fell, Thompson saw another figure approach Max. Younger, stumbling. Tyler Miller, the one from the videos. Thompson's hands clenched as he watched Tyler circle Max, phone out, recording again. "Guess what, viewers?" Tyler's voice carried in the still night. "The cavalry's here. Some broken-down vet thinks this mutt belongs to him." The camera turned toward Thompson's car. "Say hi to the stalker, everyone." But Thompson wasn't watching Tyler anymore. He was watching the woman who'd emerged from the veterinary clinic next door. Asian, mid-30s, moving with purpose toward the fence line. She had her phone out too, but she wasn't filming Tyler. She was documenting Max's condition. And from her expression, she'd been doing it for a while. Sarah Chen had been documenting Max's deteriorating condition for 6 months, building a case she hoped would eventually force authorities to act. Her clinic, Columbus Compassionate Veterinary Care, shared a fence line with Miller Construction, giving her a clear view of Max's suffering. Each photo, each video, each detailed note went into a file marked evidence. But now, watching the broken veteran in the Honda Civic maintain his vigil, she knew documentation wasn't enough. She approached Thompson's car near midnight, knocking gently on the window. He startled, the hypervigilance of PTSD evident in how quickly his hand moved to his hip, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen," she said, holding up her hands peacefully. "I've been watching Max too. We need to talk." Thompson's eyes were bloodshot, his face gaunt. The hospital slippers were still on his feet. You're the vet. I saw you filming. 6 months of evidence, Sarah confirmed, holding up her phone. Documented abuse, neglect, failure to provide medical care. But Robert Miller donates to the mayor's campaign, sits on the zoning board. My complaints go nowhere. He's dying, Thompson's voice cracked. My boy is dying, and I can't. I know. Sarah glanced toward the construction yard. But there might be another way. Can you prove Max was your military working dog? Official papers? Thompson fumbled for his phone, hands shaking as he pulled up photos from Afghanistan. Max in his tactical vest. Max receiving his Purple Heart. Max and Thompson on patrol, silhouetted against Hindu Kush mountains. Jesus, Sarah breathed. This is really him, the dog from the viral video. He's actually a war hero. 3 tours, Thompson confirmed. 47 saves. He threw himself on a grenade for my squad. His voice broke completely. And I left him behind. I was in a coma, but I still left him. Sarah studied the man before her, unwashed, obviously homeless, talking to his dog's photo like a lifeline. She made a decision that would upend her carefully organized life. My house is 3 blocks away. You need a shower, real food, and a plan that doesn't involve sleeping in your car. Thompson shook his head. I can't leave. What if something happens? What if... I have security cameras linked to my phone. We can watch the feed. But you're no good to Max if you collapse. Sarah's tone brooked no argument. Come on, Sergeant. Strategic retreat, regroup, and counterattack. Isn't that what they teach you? Meanwhile, Tyler Miller was descending into his own spiral. Snake Williams had given him 1 more week to produce the $50,000, and Tyler was out of options. His father kept the construction company's cash in a safe Tyler couldn't crack. His mother had stopped leaving her purse unguarded after he'd stolen her credit cards twice. The prescription pills he'd pilfered from various job sites were bringing in pennies compared to what he owed. You think I'm playing? Snake had asked during their last meeting, pressing a knife against Tyler's throat. 1 week, white boy. Then I start taking payment in blood. Maybe start with that pretty nurse mother of yours. Tyler spent his nights getting high and tormenting Max, the only creature more powerless than himself. But even through his drug haze, he'd noticed the change in the dog since the veteran appeared. Max's eyes tracked constantly to the street, ears perking at every engine sound. Hope. That's what it was. The damn dog still had hope. It infuriated Tyler. How dare this broken mutt maintain hope when Tyler had none? The Facebook group Bring Max Home had swelled to 200,000 members in 48 hours. Veterans from every state were organizing, sharing the story, demanding action. Local news picked it up, then regional. By Sunday morning, CNN was running a segment on America's Forgotten Hero Dog. Robert Miller woke to reporters at his gate and his phone ringing off the hook. "It's a damn dog!" he roared at the cameras. "I own him legal and proper. You want to talk about forgotten heroes? I did 2 tours in Nam while you people spit on us at the airport." But the footage of Max, starving, injured, crawling through mud, played on repeat behind the anchor's concerned faces. Someone had leaked Tyler's TikTok history. 23 videos of him tormenting Max, each worse than the last. The court of public opinion was rendering its verdict. Linda Miller watched the news coverage from her bedroom, door locked against her husband's rage. She'd tried to secretly help Max for months, sneaking him food, water, blankets that Robert always found and destroyed. The guilt ate at her like acid. She was a nurse, dedicated to healing, and she'd stood by while a living creature suffered in her backyard. "Turn that shit off!" Robert bellowed through the door. "Liberal media sob story." But Linda couldn't look away. The segment showed photos of Max in Afghanistan, proud, strong, vital. Then the current footage, broken, discarded, dying. The contrast was devastating. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister in California. "Is this really your husband on TV? That poor dog. How could you let this happen?" How indeed? How had she become the woman who allowed cruelty in her own home? Who chose keeping peace over doing right? The news segment ended with Thompson's interview, filmed outside Walter Reed. "Max gave everything for this country," he said, tears streaming down his face. "He deserves better than dying on a chain, eating garbage. He deserves to come home." Linda made her decision. Sarah Chen's living room had become a war room. Laptops, phones, legal documents spread across every surface. Thompson sat on her couch, freshly showered but still gaunt, watching the security feed of Max on Sarah's tablet. "We need more than public pressure," Sarah explained, highlighting sections of Ohio animal law. "Miller's right. He legally owns Max. But if we can prove criminal animal cruelty, not just neglect, authorities have to act. The videos show abuse, yes, but Tyler's a user. Any decent lawyer will claim diminished capacity. We need more." Thompson's phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "This is Linda Miller." The voice was quiet, strained. "Robert's wife. Please don't hang up." Thompson's grip tightened on the phone. Sarah leaned in, eyes wide. "I can't do this anymore," Linda continued, words tumbling out. "What they're doing to that dog, it's evil. I want to help, but I need protection. Robert, he's not well. Hasn't been since his brother died in Vietnam. And Tyler's using again, worse than ever. I'm scared." "What kind of help?" Thompson kept his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I have videos. Robert doesn't know I recorded them. Him beating Max with a tire iron, making him fight the neighbor's dogs for his amusement, and—" her voice dropped to a whisper. "I heard Tyler on the phone. He owes money to dangerous people. He's planning something, a robbery, tomorrow night." Sarah grabbed a legal pad, scribbling notes. This was it. The leverage they needed. "Mrs. Miller, can you send those videos? And would you testify?" A long pause. "If you can guarantee my safety, and promise me something. When you get Max back, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I tried." After Linda hung up, Thompson and Sarah sat in stunned silence. Then Sarah's phone chimed, videos arriving one after another. The first showed Robert Miller, clearly drunk, beating Max with a tire iron while the dog cowered, unable to escape. The second showed Tyler forcing Max to fight a pit bull while Robert laughed and filmed. "This is enough," Sarah said grimly. "Criminal animal cruelty, dogfighting, assault with a weapon. We take this to the state police, not local. First thing tomorrow." Tomorrow might be too late. Thompson was watching the security feed. Tyler was back, circling Max with something in his hand, a baseball bat. "He's escalating," Sarah observed. "The pressure from the media, his drug debts, he's going to take it out on Max." On the screen, Tyler raised the bat. Max didn't cower anymore. He simply lay there, accepting whatever came. The resignation in his posture shattered Thompson's heart. "No," Thompson stood. "I'm done waiting for the system. I'm getting my dog. James, you can't—" But Thompson was already moving, the soldier in him taking over. "You call 911, report an assault in progress. I'll give them something to respond to." "James!" Sarah called after him, but he was gone. At Miller Construction, Tyler's rage had reached its peak. The baseball bat felt good in his hands, solid and heavy. Max watched him approach without fear. The dog's eyes held something worse than terror, complete acceptance. "You think you're better than me?" Tyler slurred. "Sitting there all noble while I'm about to die? Snake's going to kill me, you know, cut me up piece by piece, and you just sit there judging—" "Put the bat down!" Thompson vaulted the fence with surprising agility for a man with a traumatic brain injury. 6 months of physical therapy, 6 months of rage, 6 months of guilt crystallized into pure purpose. Tyler spun, bat raised. "Back off, soldier boy. This is private property." "That's my dog." Thompson advanced steadily. "And you're going to put that bat down, or I'm going to take it from you." "Yeah." "You? And what army?" Thompson smiled coldly. "Don't need an army. Just need you to swing first." "Go ahead. Give me a reason." Tyler saw something in Thompson's eyes that penetrated even his drug haze. This wasn't a broken veteran. This was a warrior who'd found his mission. The bat lowered slightly. "My dad will shoot you." "He's welcome to try." Thompson kept advancing. "But first, I'm getting my dog." Behind Tyler, Max had struggled to his feet. A low growl rumbled in his throat, not at Thompson, but at Tyler. Even broken, even dying, Max was ready to protect his handler one more time. Tyler glanced back at the dog, and Thompson struck, not with violence, but with practiced military precision. The bat went flying. Tyler hit the ground. Thompson had him pinned in a submission hold before the younger man could process what had happened. "You're going to unlock that chain," Thompson said calmly. "Then you're going to walk away. And if you ever come near my dog again, I'll show you what I learned in 3 tours about enhanced interrogation." Sirens wailed in the distance, multiple vehicles from the sound. Sarah had called in the cavalry. "Can't breathe," Tyler gasped. "Chain first." Thompson applied slightly more pressure. "Move." Tyler fumbled for his keys, crawling toward Max with Thompson controlling his every movement. Max watched them approach, his tail attempting to wag despite everything. The lock clicked open. The chain fell away. And for the first time in 6 months, Max was free. He could have run, could have escaped to anywhere. Instead, Max dragged himself forward on his belly, his useless hind legs trailing until he reached Thompson. With tremendous effort, the war hero dog placed his head in his handler's lap. "I'm here, boy," Thompson whispered, releasing Tyler to gather Max in his arms. "I'm so sorry." "I'm here now." Max's entire body shuddered with the effort of containing his joy. His tail wagged frantically. His tongue found Thompson's face. And then, as sirens filled the air and lights blazed across the construction yard, Max did something he hadn't done in 6 months. He barked. Once. Clear and strong. The sound of a soldier reporting for duty. The police cars screeched into Miller Construction's lot at 2:47 a.m., their lights painting red and blue across the industrial landscape. Thompson still knelt in the mud, cradling Max, when the first officers emerged with weapons drawn. "Hands where we can see them," Officer Patricia Daines commanded, her service weapon trained on Thompson. "Step away from—" "He's a veteran." Sarah Chen rushed forward, her hands raised. "I'm Dr. Chen. I called this in. This man is retrieving his service dog, the one from the news." More vehicles arrived. State police, animal control, an ambulance. The scene erupted into controlled chaos as Tyler Miller scrambled to his feet, pointing at Thompson. "He assaulted me. Broke into our property. That's our guard dog." "Shut up, Tyler." The voice came from the back door of Miller Construction. Robert Miller emerged, shotgun in hand, but pointed at the ground. His face was haggard, aged 10 years and 2 days of media scrutiny. "Just shut up." "Sir, put the weapon down," Officer Daines ordered, her partner shifting to cover Robert. "It's not loaded." Robert set the shotgun on the ground with exaggerated care. "Haven't had shells for it in years. Like everything else around here, just for show." Linda Miller appeared behind her husband, clutching a manila envelope. Her nursing scrubs were wrinkled, her face streaked with tears. "I have evidence. Videos of what they did to that dog." "Linda, what the hell?" "No more, Robert." Her voice carried 30 years of suppressed anger. "No more." While the police sorted through the chaos, Thompson focused only on Max. The dog's breathing was labored, his body trembling with effort and emotion. The smell of infection was overwhelming this close. Wounds gone septic, skin conditions untreated, the musty reek of chronic neglect. "We need to get him to my clinic," Sarah said urgently, kneeling beside them. "He's in shock. His heart rate is dangerous." "You're not taking him anywhere." Robert Miller stepped forward, but 3 officers immediately blocked his path. "That's my property. I have papers. And I have videos of you beating him with a tire iron," Linda announced, handing the envelope to Officer Daines, "and forcing him into dogfights, and denying him medical care for 6 months. The parking lot fell silent except for Max's labored breathing. "You recorded me?" Robert's voice was hollow. "My own wife?" "Your own wife who watched you become a monster." Linda's composure finally cracked. "That dog saved American soldiers, Robert. 47 of them. How many did the dog save in Vietnam? How many could have saved Danny if they'd had the chance?" Robert flinched as if slapped. "Don't you dare! Your brother died because of an ambush, not because dogs failed him." Linda's voice rose to a near scream. "And you've spent 40 years punishing innocent animals for it." "It ends now." Tyler tried to edge away from the scene, but 2 state troopers blocked his path. The smell of marijuana wafted from his clothes, pupils dilated despite the harsh lights. "Mr. Miller," one trooper said, "we're going to need you to submit to a field sobriety test." "This is bullshit. That vet broke in. He assaulted me." "He defended his dog from your assault," Sarah interjected, holding up her phone. "I have security footage of you approaching Max with a baseball bat, time stamped at 2:31 a.m. More sirens approached. Thompson recognized the distinctive wail of a fire truck. Why would... The smell hit everyone at the same moment. Smoke, acrid and chemical. "Fire!" someone shouted. "The building's on fire!" Black smoke poured from Miller Construction's back entrance. Through the windows, orange flames danced across the office space. The space heater Tyler had knocked over during his frantic, safe-cracking attempt had finally found the pile of oil-soaked rags. "Everyone back!" Officer Daines commanded. "Way back! There's chemicals in there!" The crowd scattered, officers hustling civilians to safety, but Thompson couldn't move fast enough while carrying Max. The dog weighed 90 pounds even in his emaciated state, and Thompson's TBI made his balance precarious. "Here!" Sarah grabbed Max's rear end, helping support his weight. Together they stumbled toward the street. "My office!" Robert Miller broke free from the police line, running toward the burning building. 20 years of records. Everything's in there." "Sir, stop!" Officers pursued him, but Robert had a head start and desperation's speed. "Dad, no!" Tyler's scream cut through the chaos. "The safe! I rigged the safe!" The confession came too late. Robert had already disappeared through the smoke-filled doorway. Tyler tried to follow, but the state troopers held him back. "He'll die in there!" Tyler fought against their grip. "I loosened the gas line trying to crack the safe. The whole place is gonna..." The explosion wasn't massive, just a compressed whump as the leaking gas found flame. But it was enough to blow out the office windows and send a fireball rolling across the ceiling. Linda Miller's scream was primal. She ran toward the building, but firefighters were already deploying, 2 of them catching her before she could follow her husband into the inferno. And then, impossibly, there was movement in the smoke. Max had broken free from Thompson and Sarah's grip. Despite his useless hind legs, despite the agony racking his body, the military working dog was crawling toward the burning building. His front legs pulled him forward with desperate strength, leaving bloody marks on the asphalt. "Max, no!" Thompson lunged after him, but Max was moving with purpose now, with mission clarity Thompson recognized from Afghanistan. The dog reached the doorway just as Robert Miller stumbled out, his clothes on fire, hands clutching his face. Max clamped his jaws onto Robert's ankle and pulled, adding his fading strength to Robert's momentum. They tumbled together onto the parking lot as firefighters rushed forward with extinguishers and blankets. "Clear the scene!" the fire captain shouted. "There could be more explosions!" The crowd pulled back further, emergency responders working with practiced efficiency. Paramedics swarmed Robert Miller, whose screams had faded to whimpers. Max lay where he'd fallen after dragging Robert clear, his massive effort finally overwhelming his broken body. Thompson dropped beside his dog, hands gentle on the scorched fur. "Why, boy? Why save him after everything?" Max's eyes found Thompson's face. In them was the answer Thompson should have known. Because that's what warriors do. That's what heroes do. They save lives, regardless of whether those lives deserve saving. "We need to move him now!" Sarah had commandeered an animal control stretcher. "He's going into cardiac arrest." They loaded Max as carefully as possible, Thompson climbing into Sarah's van beside him. As they pulled away, Thompson saw the scene in the rearview mirror. Miller Construction fully engulfed, Robert Miller being loaded into an ambulance, Linda Miller standing alone in the chaos, and Tyler Miller in handcuffs, his drug-fueled safe-cracking attempt having nearly killed his father. All of it witnessed by news crews who'd arrived just in time to capture a dying hero dog saving the man who'd tortured him. Sarah's clinic was only 3 blocks away, but they felt like miles. Max's breathing grew more labored, his body seizing as they pulled into the parking lot. "I need help!" Sarah shouted to her overnight technician who'd seen them coming on the security feed. "Prep Surgery Suite 1. Full crash cart!" They rushed Max inside, Thompson forced to stay in the waiting room as Sarah and her team worked. He paced the small space, his mind cycling through memories. Max detecting an IED that would have killed a school bus full of children. Max comforting a young soldier after his first firefight. Max standing guard while Thompson slept in hostile territory. "You can't die," Thompson whispered to the closed surgery doors. "Not like this. Not after I failed you." His phone buzzed constantly. Messages from the Bring Max home group, veterans offering support, media requests he ignored. The only call he answered was from a number he recognized. "Thompson, this is Colonel Hayes. I just saw the news." His former commanding officer, the one who'd pinned the Purple Heart on Max after the grenade incident. "Ma'am," Thompson's voice broke. "He's dying. After everything he survived, he's dying because I couldn't protect him." "Negative, Sergeant." "He's dying because he's a hero who gave everything for others, just like he's still doing." A pause. "I've made some calls. Walter Reed's veterinary unit is standing by if you can get him stable enough to transport, full military honors, whatever it takes." "Thank you, ma'am, but—" "No buts, Sergeant. That dog served this country with distinction. We don't leave our wounded behind, even if they have 4 legs. You get him stable, we'll get him home." The surgery doors opened. Sarah emerged, blood on her scrubs, exhaustion and something else in her eyes. "He's alive," she said quickly, before Thompson could ask. "But barely. The smoke inhalation on top of everything else. His heart stopped twice. We got him back. But James, he's suffering. His organs are failing. The burns from the fire combined with the infections, the spinal damage. You're saying I should let him go." Thompson's voice was hollow. "I'm saying you need to think about what's best for Max. Not what you need, but what he needs." Sarah's eyes were wet. "He's holding on for you. The question is whether that's kind or cruel." Through the surgery window, Thompson could see Max on the table, surrounded by machines, tubes, and wires. Even sedated, even dying, the dog's head was turned toward the door, still watching for his handler. The news played on the waiting room television, muted but with closed captions. Hero dog saves abusive owner from fire. The irony wasn't lost on Thompson. Max had proven one final time that his heart was stronger than any cruelty inflicted upon it. Tyler Miller's mugshot appeared on screen. Drug possession, animal cruelty, attempted burglary, reckless endangerment. Robert Miller was in critical condition with third-degree burns. Linda Miller was nowhere to be seen, probably at her husband's bedside, wrestling with her own complex emotions. And at the center of it all, a dog who'd given everything and asked for nothing in return except the chance to serve. Thompson entered the surgery suite, approaching Max slowly. The monitors beeped steadily, marking each labored heartbeat. He took Max's paw in his hand, careful of the IV line. "Hey, boy," he whispered. "It's me. I'm here." Max's eyes fluttered open, focusing with effort on Thompson's face. His tail moved, just a whisper of movement, but unmistakably a wag. "You did it, Max. You completed the mission. You saved him." Thompson's tears fell freely now. "You saved everyone but yourself, didn't you? Just like always." Max's breathing hitched, the machines alarming briefly before settling. His eyes never left Thompson's face. Outside, dawn was breaking over Columbus. The smoke from Miller Construction still rose in the distance. The world was waking to the story of a dog who'd exemplified everything good about service, loyalty, and unconditional love. But inside the surgical suite, there was only a soldier and his partner, facing the hardest mission of all. The burn unit at Ohio State Medical Center had seen its share of tragedy, but the sight of Robert Miller made even veteran nurses pause. Third-degree burns covered 40% of his body, the price of running into a building to save paper records of a failing business. He drifted in and out of consciousness, morphine dulling the physical pain but unable to touch the deeper wounds. Linda Miller kept vigil beside his bed, her hands clutched around a rosary she hadn't touched in years. The woman who'd stood up to her husband 12 hours ago had shrunk back into herself, guilt and grief warring across her face. "He keeps asking about the dog," she told the nurse during a shift change. "Even through the pain, he asks if the dog is alive." "The one that pulled him out?" The nurse had seen the footage like everyone else. "Last I heard, he was in surgery at a veterinary clinic." Linda's laugh was bitter. 40 years of marriage, and I'm just now learning my husband has a conscience. It only took nearly dying to find it." Down the hall, Tyler Miller sat in a secure wing, handcuffed to his bed while detoxing under guard. The charges against him had multiplied as investigators uncovered the extent of his activities: animal cruelty, possession with intent to distribute, attempted burglary, and now attempted murder through reckless endangerment. His father's condition had upgraded the fire from accident to felony. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he told his court-appointed attorney, sweating through another wave of withdrawal. "I just needed the money. Snake was going to kill me." "Marcus Williams was arrested this morning," the attorney informed him. "Based on your videos and text messages, you're looking at federal charges now. The interstate drug trafficking alone could get you 20 years. Tyler closed his eyes. 20 years. He'd be 43 when he got out. His father might be dead. His mother would never forgive him. And all because he'd chosen pills over people. Easy money over honest work. "What about the dog?" he asked suddenly. His attorney looked surprised. "I don't have information about that." "He saved my dad," Tyler's voice cracked. "After everything I did to him, he still saved my dad." At Columbus Compassionate Veterinary Care, the morning shift arrived to find their small clinic transformed into something resembling a military field hospital. Veterans had been arriving all night, setting up an informal honor guard in the parking lot. American flags and unit patches decorated the fence. Someone had erected a sign, Max's last post. Inside, Sarah Chen hadn't left Max's side in 6 hours. She'd managed to stabilize him through the night, but it was a fragile stability maintained by machines and medications. The burns from the fire, combined with 6 months of systematic neglect and abuse, had pushed his body beyond its limits. Thompson sat on the floor beside the surgical table, one hand resting on Max's paw. He'd been talking quietly for hours, stories from Afghanistan, memories of training, promises of a future he knew they'd never have. "Remember that kid in Kandahar?" Thompson murmured. "The one who brought you water every day? Called you hero dog in Pashto? He's in college now, MIT. Sent a message when he saw the news. Said you'd changed his life. Showed him Americans weren't all soldiers with guns. We were protectors too." Max's eyes tracked slowly to Thompson's face. The intelligence was still there, dimmed, but unbroken. Sarah checked the monitors again. Heart rate declining, kidney function failing, respiratory distress increasing despite the ventilator. "James," she said gently. "Colonel Hayes called. Walter Reed is ready whenever you are, but he won't survive the transport," Thompson finished the thought. "I know." A knock at the clinic door interrupted them. Sarah's technician answered, returning with an unexpected visitor. Linda Miller stood in the doorway, still wearing yesterday's scrubs, her face ravaged by tears and sleeplessness. May I see him?" Thompson tensed, but Max's tail moved slightly. That same recognition that had never failed him, even of those who'd hurt him. "Please," Linda continued. "I need to apologize to both of you." Sarah looked to Thompson, who nodded slowly. Linda approached on unsteady legs, gasping when she saw Max's condition up close. The burns, the protruding ribs, the evidence of prolonged suffering. "Oh God," she whispered. "What did we do?" She reached out tentatively, her nurse's hands gentle as she touched Max's head. "I'm so sorry. I tried to help, but I was a coward. I chose my marriage over my conscience. I chose silence over what was right." Max's eyes studied her face with that profound understanding unique to dogs. His tail moved again, stronger this time. Forgiveness, freely given. "How?" Linda asked Thompson. "How can he not hate us?" "Because that's not who he is," Thompson replied. "Max doesn't know how to hate, only how to love and serve. It's humans who taught him about cruelty." Linda pulled an envelope from her purse. "Security footage from the last 6 months. Every incident. I was building a case but never had the courage to use it." She handed it to Sarah. "Make sure justice is done. It's the least I can do." "Your husband," Sarah began. "Will live," Linda said flatly. "The doctors are optimistic. He'll have scars, need skin grafts, months of rehabilitation, but he'll live." She looked at Max again. "Unlike this hero." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Tyler wants to see him, to apologize." "He's in custody at the hospital, but if there's any way—" "No." Thompson's voice was steel. "Max has forgiven enough." Linda nodded, understanding. At the door, she paused one final time. "Robert said something when he was delirious from the pain medication. He said he saw Danny when the flames surrounded him. His brother. Said Danny was calling him a fool, telling him the dog was trying to save him, just like dogs tried to save soldiers in Vietnam." She wiped her eyes. 40 years of misplaced hate, and it took dying to see the truth. After she left, the clinic fell silent except for the mechanical breathing of the ventilator. Sarah checked Max's stats again, her expression grave. "His organs are shutting down," she said quietly. "Even with full support, we're just prolonging the inevitable." Thompson knew she was right. Had known it since he'd first seen Max's condition, but knowing and accepting were different battles. His phone buzzed. A text from Colonel Hayes. "Transport standing by. Your call, Sergeant." More messages flooded in. The Bring Max Home group had swelled to over 1 million members. Veterans across the country were holding vigils. The president had tweeted about America's four-legged heroes, but none of it mattered to the dog fighting for each breath on the table. "You know what I realized?" Thompson said suddenly. "All these months I was searching for you, I kept saying I failed you. But that's not true, is it? You were never lost. You were exactly where you needed to be." Sarah looked confused, but Thompson continued, his voice stronger. "You saved that family, Max, not just from the fire, from themselves. Robert Miller will never harm another animal. Tyler might find redemption in prison. Linda found her courage. And all because you never stopped being who you are, a protector." Max's breathing grew more labored, the ventilator working harder to compensate. His eyes found Thompson's face, holding there with effort. "I spent 6 months in a coma, and you spent 6 months in hell," Thompson said, tears flowing freely. "But we both survived to find each other again. That's not failure, boy. That's a mission completed." Outside, the informal honor guard had grown. Veterans in wheelchairs, on crutches, some in uniform, others in civilian clothes marked with unit patches. They stood silent witness to something larger than one dog's suffering, a testament to all who serve and sacrifice. Sarah's technician opened the door slightly. "There's a call for you, Sergeant Thompson. Says it's urgent." Thompson almost ignored it, but something in the technician's expression made him take the phone. "Sergeant Thompson, this is Ahmad Rahimi. You knew me as the interpreter in Kandahar." Thompson's breath caught. The voice he hadn't heard in 2 years. Older now, accented with California instead of Kandahar. "Ahmad? I saw the news about Max. I'm driving from Los Angeles. I'll be there in 10 hours. Please, I must see him. That dog." Ahmad's voice broke. "That dog saved my entire family. My children are alive because of him. Please." Thompson looked at Max, seeing the shallow rise and fall of his chest, the way his body trembled with each assisted breath. "I don't know if we have 10 hours, Thompson said honestly. "Then I'll pray for 11, Ahmad replied. "Tell Max that Zara is in medical school now. His bravery gave her that chance. Tell him we name our first dog after him. Tell him—" The line crackled with emotion. "Tell him he is remembered. Tell him he mattered." The truth about that night in Kandahar had been buried in classified reports for 2 years. As Ahmad Rahimi raced across country and Max clung to life, the full story began to emerge through a series of phone calls that shook Thompson to his core. Colonel Hayes called back within an hour of Ahmad's contact. "Sergeant, I've been authorized to read you into something. That final mission? There's more to it than you remember." Thompson stood in the clinic's break room, watching Max through the window while Sarah adjusted his medications. "Ma'am, your TBI affected your memory of the event. We didn't correct it because, frankly, the truth was classified. But given the circumstances and the media attention, the Pentagon has authorized limited disclosure." Thompson's hand tightened on the phone. "What are you saying? The grenade Max jumped on? It wasn't random. The convoy was specifically targeted because we were transporting Ahmad's family to the airport. The Taliban had discovered he'd been feeding us intelligence about IED factories. That grenade was meant for the vehicle carrying his wife and daughters." The room spun slightly. Thompson grabbed the counter for support. "Max didn't just save soldiers that day," Hayes continued. "He saved the family of the man who'd helped us save hundreds of American lives. Ahmad's intelligence network had prevented 17 major attacks. The Taliban wanted his family dead as a message to other informants." "Why wasn't I told?" "Because you were in a coma when Ahmad's family was relocated. By the time you woke up, the moment had passed. We thought it would be easier for you to heal without knowing the full weight of what Max had sacrificed for." Through the window, Thompson could see Max's eyes were open, watching the door as always. Waiting. "There's more," Hayes said. "I've spoken with the Secretary of Defense. If Max, when the time comes, he'll be buried at Arlington. Full honors. The first military working dog to receive that recognition. And Sergeant? That's not a favor. That's what he's earned." After Hayes hung up, Thompson returned to Max's side. The dog's breathing was shallower now, each rise and fall of his chest a monumental effort. Sarah had removed some of the machines, not because Max was improving, but because they were no longer helping. "You knew, didn't you?" Thompson whispered to his partner. "You knew who was in that vehicle. That's why you didn't hesitate." Max's eyes tracked to Thompson's face, alert despite the failing body. His tail managed a single, weak thump against the table. Outside, the crowd had grown beyond veterans, families with children, local residents who'd followed the story, animal lovers who'd been moved by Max's sacrifice. Someone had set up speakers playing soft music, not military marches, but gentle melodies that seemed to calm the suffering dog. Sarah's phone rang. She listened, then looked at Thompson with surprise. That was the state police. "They're providing an escort for someone driving from California. They'll be here in 6 hours." 6 hours. Thompson looked at the monitors showing Max's declining vitals. It might as well have been 6 days. "He's waiting," Thompson realized. "He's waiting for Ahmad." The next hours passed in a strange, suspended state. Thompson told Max stories about every life he'd saved, every mission they'd completed. Sarah worked tirelessly to keep him comfortable, adjusting pain medications and oxygen levels. The crowd outside maintained their vigil, candles appearing as evening approached. Tyler Miller's lawyer arrived with a sealed envelope. "My client insisted I deliver this personally," he said, clearly uncomfortable. He said the detective would want to see it. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small key. "Sergeant Thompson," Tyler's shaky handwriting began. "I know I have no right to ask your forgiveness. What I did to Max is unforgivable. But I need you to know something. The first video I made, before the drugs took over completely, I was actually proud of him. I saved it. It's on a USB drive in my car glove box. That key opens it. It shows Max the way he deserves to be remembered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tyler." Thompson pocketed the key without comment. He'd deal with it later, if there was a later. Linda Miller returned as darkness fell, this time with a chaplain from the hospital. "Robert's asking for you," she told Thompson. "He's lucid, and he won't rest until he speaks with you. I'm not leaving Max." "I know." Linda pulled out her phone, dialing. A moment later, she held it to Thompson's ear. Robert Miller's voice was rough, damaged by smoke and intubation. Is the dog?" "Max is still with us," Thompson said curtly. "I need to tell you." Each word was clearly painful. "Danny, my brother, he had a dog in Nam, Sergeant. German Shepherd. Saved his unit twice. When Danny died, dog wouldn't leave his body. They had to put him down. He wouldn't leave Danny." Thompson said nothing, but his hand found Max's fur. "I hated them after that," Robert continued. "Hated that a dog showed more loyalty than I did. I was stateside, safe. Danny died alone except for that dog." A ragged breath. "Your dog, Max. He's everything I hated, because he's everything I wasn't. Loyal, brave, selfless. Mr. Miller, let me finish. Please." Another painful breath. "When I ran into that fire, I heard him behind me, dragging himself. Broken legs, and he still came. Still saved me. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know I'll testify about everything. Tyler, the abuse, all of it. That dog earned justice. The line went quiet except for Robert's labored breathing. Thank you, Thompson finally said. That matters. After Linda left, taking Robert's confession with her, Sarah checked Max's vitals again. His kidneys had shut down completely. His heart rate was erratic. But his eyes remained bright, focused on the door. He's in pain, Sarah said gently. Even with the medications. His body is failing, but his spirit won't quit, Thompson finished. He won't quit until the mission's complete. At 11:47 p.m., a black SUV with state police escort pulled into the clinic parking lot. Ahmad Rahimi emerged, older than Thompson remembered, wearing an American flag pin on his lapel. Behind him, a young woman in USC Medical School scrubs, Zara, his eldest daughter. The crowd parted silently as Ahmad approached the clinic. Thompson met him at the door, the two men embracing wordlessly. Is he waiting for you? Thompson said. Ahmad entered the surgical suite slowly, his daughter behind him. When he saw Max's condition, he made a sound, half sob, half prayer, in Pashto. My friend. Ahmad knelt beside the table, his hands gentle on Max's head. My brother, do you remember me? Do you remember my children you saved? Max's eyes opened fully for the first time in hours. His tail moved, not much, but enough. Recognition bloomed across his face. This is Zara, Ahmad continued, tears streaming. She lives because of you. She will be a doctor because of you. My sons are engineers because of you. My wife teaches school because of you. 43 people live in America today because you threw yourself on that grenade. Max's breathing changed, becoming somehow easier despite his failing organs. His eyes moved from Ahmad to Zara to Thompson, then back to Ahmad. We named our dog Max, Ahmad whispered. Every Afghan who worked with Americans knows your story. You are legend. Hero dog who loved enough to die for strangers. Zara stepped forward, young and serious in her medical scrubs. Mr. Max, she said formally, her English perfect. I was 8 when you saved us. I remember. The explosion, the smoke. Then the Americans telling us the dog had protected our vehicle. I decided that day to become a doctor, to save lives like you saved ours. She placed a small object on the table beside Max. A collar. A simple leather collar with a brass plate reading Max in English and Pashto. From the families, Ahmad explained. All of us you saved. We had it blessed by imam and priest and rabbi, all faiths honoring one soul. Max's eyes studied the collar, then closed peacefully for the first time in hours. His breathing slowed but seemed less labored, as if a great weight had been lifted. The mission, Thompson said suddenly, understanding flooding through him. He needed to know the mission succeeded, that saving Ahmad's family mattered, that all those lives he saved went on to live and thrive. Ahmad nodded, his hand never leaving Max's fur. In my faith, we believe animals have souls. Pure souls that recognize truth. He knew his duty. Now he knows his victory. The room fell silent except for the soft beep of monitors. Max's eyes opened once more, finding Thompson's face. In them was something Thompson had seen before. In Afghanistan, after successful missions, the look of a warrior ready to stand down. Ahmad's here, boy, Thompson whispered. Zara's here. They're safe. They're thriving. You did it. You saved them all. Max's gaze traveled once around the room. Thompson, Sarah, Ahmad, Zara. Then he did something he hadn't done in 6 months. He sighed, a deep, contented sound of absolute peace. The monitors began their final alarm. Sarah moved to silence them, her own tears falling freely. Outside, the crowd seemed to sense the moment, voices rising in spontaneous hymn, not a military tune, but Amazing Grace, sung by hundreds of throats. 47 soldiers, Thompson said, his voice strong despite the tears. Ahmad's family, Robert Miller. Every life you touched, every person you saved, mission complete, Max. Mission complete. Max's eyes found Thompson's one last time. Love, loyalty, and peace radiated from that gaze. Then, with the smallest movement of his tail, a final wag of goodbye, Max closed his eyes. The great heart that had beaten through war and abuse, through service and suffering, finally found its rest. At 12:03 a.m., surrounded by those who loved him and those he'd saved, Max completed his final mission. The hero dog who'd never learned to hate, only to love and protect, was finally at peace. The honor guard formed at dawn. 21 veterans in dress uniform, standing at attention in the parking lot of Columbus Compassionate Veterinary Care as Max's flag-draped body was carried to the waiting hearse. The crowd that had maintained vigil through the night stood silent, many saluting, others with hands over hearts. Thompson walked beside the gurney, his hand resting on the flag. Ahmad Rahimi flanked the other side, Zara behind him. Sarah Chen had worked through the night to prepare Max with the dignity befitting a fallen warrior, wounds cleaned and dressed, fur brushed to what shine remained, the blessed collar from the Afghan families around his neck. "Present arms," the honor guard captain commanded. 21 rifles rose in perfect synchronization. The first volley cracked across the morning air, then the second, then the third. 21 guns for a dog who'd never held a weapon but had wielded courage like a shield. As the echoes faded, a bugler stepped forward. The first notes of taps floated across the assembled crowd, each note a goodbye, a thank you, a promise to remember. Tyler Miller watched from his hospital window, shackled to his bed, but able to see the ceremony below. His lawyer had arranged for him to be placed in a room with a view, knowing somehow that Tyler needed to witness this. As the hearse pulled away, Tyler pressed his palm against the glass, a salute from a man who'd learned too late the value of what he'd tormented. Robert Miller, bandaged and sedated in the burn unit, would learn of the ceremony later. But even in his morphine haze, he'd startled his nurses by suddenly saying, "The dog. Honor the dog." The funeral procession stretched for miles. Columbus police led the way, followed by the hearse, then Thompson and Ahmad in Sarah's van. Behind them, hundreds of vehicles, motorcycles with veteran riders, cars bearing American flags, trucks with hastily made signs reading "Thank you, Max" and "Hero's Journey." They drove slowly through Columbus, past Miller Construction's burned remains where Max had served his final act of courage, past the VA hospital where Linda Miller stood with other nurses, all saluting as the procession passed, through neighborhoods where people emerged from houses, children holding drawings of dogs, veterans in wheelchairs rolling to the curb. At the Ohio state line, Pennsylvania State Police took over the escort. Then Maryland. Each state adding their tribute to a dog whose service had touched lives from Afghanistan to America. Arlington National Cemetery had never before opened its gates to a military working dog, but as the procession arrived, the sight that greeted them made history's weight clear. The Secretary of Defense stood waiting, the Army Chief of Staff, representatives from every branch of service, and stretching beyond them, thousands of people, veterans, families, civilians who'd driven through the night to be present. The burial plot was in Section 60 among the heroes of Iraq and Afghanistan. A small space, but positioned with honor among those Max had served alongside. "We gather today," the chaplain began, "to enter a warrior who asked for nothing but the chance to serve, who gave everything and expected only the love of his handler in return." Thompson stood rigid, fighting for composure as the flag was folded with the same precision afforded any fallen soldier. When the honor guard presented it to him, Thompson's hands shook as he accepted it. "On behalf of a grateful nation," the guard said, words typically reserved for widows and mothers, now spoken to a sergeant for his dog. Ahmad stepped forward, placing a small stone on the casket, a Jewish tradition he'd learned in America, adapted for a soul that transcended any one faith. "In my culture," he said, voice carrying across the silent cemetery, "we say that when someone saves a life, they save the entire world. This dog saved many worlds. My children, their children yet to be. Generations who will live because he did not hesitate." One by one, others came forward. A young soldier who'd been in the vehicle when Max jumped on the grenade. The military doctor who'd tried to save Max in Afghanistan. Veterans who'd never met Max but who'd lost their own four-legged partners in service. Sarah Chen approached last, carrying something wrapped in plastic. "I was asked to bring this," she said to Thompson, unwrapping it carefully. It was a purple cushion bearing Max's 3 purple hearts, cleaned and restored. But there was a fourth medal now, the Medal of Honor, modified with a paw print instead of the usual star. "Unofficial," the Secretary of Defense said quietly, stepping beside Thompson. "Congress hasn't authorized it." But the President insisted. Said if we can't officially honor our four-legged heroes, we can at least acknowledge their valor privately. As the casket was lowered, a formation of military working dogs and their handlers appeared on the hill above, 20 dogs sitting at perfect attention beside their partners. As one, they raised their voices in a howl, not mournful but triumphant. A warrior's farewell from those who understood. Thompson dropped to one knee beside the grave, his hand on the freshly turned earth. "Stand down, Max," he whispered. "Rest easy, boy. I've got the watch now." The ceremony concluded, but people lingered. Stories were shared, of other dogs, other sacrifices, other bonds between human and animal that transcended species. Ahmed's family stayed close to Thompson. Zara asking questions about Max's training, his personality, the little things that made him more than just a military asset. "He loved peanut butter," Thompson found himself saying, almost smiling. "Could hear me open a jar from 100 yards away, and he'd always steal my socks, carry them around like trophies." "My dog does that," Zara said. "The one we named after him. Maybe it's genetic. Hero dogs and sock theft." As the sun set over Arlington, the crowds finally dispersed. But Thompson remained, sitting beside the fresh grave, the folded flag in his lap. Sarah waited nearby, patient and understanding. "I thought I'd feel empty," Thompson said finally. "But I don't. I feel complete. Like something that was broken finally got fixed." "Maybe that was his last mission," Sarah suggested. "Not just saving lives, but healing them. Yours included." Thompson nodded, standing slowly. As he turned to leave, he saw a figure approaching through the headstones, an elderly man, moving carefully but with military bearing. It was a Vietnam veteran, his jacket bearing the insignia of a dog handler. He stopped at Max's grave, saluted, then placed something small at the base of the temporary marker. "For the dog," he said simply, then walked away. Thompson knelt to see what he'd left. It was a photograph, yellowed with age, a young soldier and a German shepherd in the jungle of Vietnam. On the back, written in faded ink, "Duke and me, 1969. He saved 12, never forgotten." As they walked back through the cemetery, Thompson saw similar tributes appearing at Max's grave, photos, collar tags, unit patches, a brotherhood of those who'd loved and lost their four-legged partners, welcoming Max into their eternal company. The ride back to Columbus was quiet, but not somber. Ahmad and his family followed, planning to stay for Robert Miller's trial to ensure justice was done. Tyler would plead guilty to all charges, seeking redemption through accountability. Linda would file for divorce and dedicate herself to animal welfare causes. And Thompson would honor Max's legacy the only way he knew how: by living, by serving, by never forgetting that sometimes the greatest heroes walk on four legs and love without condition. The story of Max didn't end with his death. It began there, spreading across social media, inspiring legislation protecting military animals, funded by donations that poured in from around the world. But for Thompson, driving through the darkness with Max's flag beside him, the story was simpler. A soldier and his dog, a bond unbroken by death, a love that transcended species and circumstance. And the certain knowledge that somewhere, somehow, Max was still on duty, forever the guardian, forever the hero, forever the best friend a warrior could ask for. Mission complete. But the legacy eternal. To our cherished listeners who've served, sacrificed, and understand the true meaning of loyalty, Max's story reminds us that love doesn't diminish with age or adversity. It only grows stronger. Like many of you who've stood by spouses through illness, raised children who tested your patience, or cared for aging parents who no longer recognized you, Max showed us that unconditional love isn't just a phrase, it's a choice we make every single day. His journey from Afghanistan's battlefields to that Ohio backyard mirrors our own paths. Sometimes we're celebrated, sometimes we're forgotten, but our worth never changes. Max saved lives not because they deserved it, but because that's what love does. It protects, perseveres, and forgives. Just as you've forgiven those who've hurt you, just as you've continued loving when it would have been easier to walk away. Max's legacy asks us, who in your life needs your forgiveness today? What act of unconditional love have you witnessed that still moves you to tears? Share your stories below. Let's honor not just Max, but the everyday heroes among us who choose love over hate, service over self, and remind us that the best of humanity often comes with gray hair and weathered hands.